Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're stepping way back in time to unpack the history behind, well, honestly, one of the most famous structures on the planet. We're diving into the captivating story of the Taj Mahal. And as you'll see today, this isn't just some dry architectural breakdown. Oh no, it's a tale of deep love, profound sadness, and a massive earth-shifting promise that quite literally changed the world forever. Let's get into it.
So, right off the bat, I want you to keep this really profound question in mind. What would you build to prove your love? Just think about that for a second. To see how one man answered this, we've got to travel back to a super busy, incredibly colorful marketplace in India called the Meena Bazaar. Picture this. The air smells like sweet spices and expensive perfumes. A handsome young prince named Haram is just walking through, minding his own business, when his eyes land on a 14-year-old girl selling silk and glass beads. The stories say she was literally as beautiful as the moon. Right then and there, the prince's heart skipped a beat. He completely forgot about everything else. He just knew he was going to spend the rest of his life with her.
That brings us to Chapter 1, A Prince and a Girl. Their story started with just a whisper in a market, but because they were royalty, they actually had to wait 5 long years to marry. But in 1612, they finally had this massive celebration, and Prince Karam gave her a new name to show his absolute devotion, Mumtaz Mahal, which means the chosen one of the palace.
Now, what's truly fascinating here is Mumtaz Mahal's extraordinary partnership with the emperor, especially when you compare it to what was expected of a queen back then. Usually, queens stayed safely tucked away inside palace walls, right? But Mumtaz Mahal? She was totally different. She was this incredibly wise woman who actually advised the emperor on super crucial country-running matters. When he had to travel or lead his army into war, she didn't just stay behind. No way. She lived in tents and rode elephants just to be by his side. They were, for all intents and purposes, two halves of the exact same soul. 19. That's the number of years they spent together in marriage. And during those 19 years, they shared absolutely everything. Joy, immense power, a huge family. Everyone in India saw how the emperor, who later took the famous name Shah Jahan, or King of the World, looked at his queen. She wasn't just his wife, she was his absolute best friend and the literal light of his life. Everyone thought this golden era would last forever.
But as we move into Chapter 2, the dark shadow of grief, we see that even the brightest lights can fade. The beautiful music of their life together was about to hit a horribly sad note.
The really crucial, heartbreaking point here is the devastating suddenness of her loss. She was only 38. In 1631, the emperor had to travel to a war camp, and Mumtaz Mahal, as always, went with him, even though she was heavily pregnant with their 14th child. After delivering a healthy baby girl in these really rough camp conditions, she got incredibly sick. And Shah Jahan, this guy known as the King of the World who had all this immense power, he was utterly helpless. He just had to hold her hand and watch the light leave her eyes as she passed away. But before she died, she asked him for one last promise: to show the world how much she loved her, and to build something so her memory would live on forever.
This single number captures the suffocating weight of his grief: 8. It said he literally cried for 8 full days without stopping. It was like the sun had just gone out for him. For 2 whole years, he completely withdrew from the world. No royal clothes, no music. The sadness was so unbelievably heavy that his dark hair actually turned stark white in just a few months. He just sat in his palace, staring at the river, carrying this deep, empty hole in his heart.
Which leads us to Chapter 3, Building Paradise on Earth. See, Shah Jahan remembered that promise. He wasn't going to just build some simple, ordinary grave. He went on an obsessive quest to build an actual paradise on Earth, the most beautiful building the world had ever seen.
So he specifically picked this peaceful spot right on the banks of the Yamuna River in Agra. Why? So the gardens would reflect in the water, making the whole thing look like it was magically floating between the earth and the sky. He was absolutely obsessed with symmetry too. The left side had to look exactly, perfectly like the right side, symbolizing the peace of heaven. And crucially, while everyone else was building with redstone, he insisted on pure white marble. It was the perfect color to represent her pure soul. Just look at this timeline. From her death in 1631, it took 22 years of relentless, non-stop construction to finish it in 1653. Can you even imagine that? Dedicating 22 years of sweat, back-breaking labor, and art to one single project? He didn't care about the impossible costs, he didn't care about the time, he only cared about keeping that promise.
Of course, to build a dream this massive, you need an army. And Shah Jahan assembled one. We're talking 20,000 workers on site every single day. The air was just constantly filled with the clink, clink, clink of hammers and a massive mix of different languages. He brought in the best stone cutters from faraway lands and these incredible artists who literally carved delicate flowers into solid stone while baking under the hot sun. And get this, imagine the logistics here. 1,000. That's how many giant elephants they needed just to drag the insanely heavy Makrana marble from a quarry 200 miles away. The scale of the whole operation is it's unprecedented. Now, to decorate this masterpiece, they used a mind-blowing technique called pietra dura. They wanted to make flowers that never die, right? So artists meticulously carved tiny little shapes out of the smooth white marble. Then they took precious, colorful stones and fit them into those holes so perfectly it almost defies logic. The craftsmanship is so next level that if you run your hand over the wall today, it feels completely smooth, like it's all just one solid piece of stone. He really wanted this building to sparkle like an enormous, intricate jewelry box. So he imported precious stones from all over Asia, creating this sort of international symphony of stone. We're talking deep blue lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, gorgeous green jade from China, bright yellow crystals, and fiery red carnelians. Every single stone, every tiny detail was basically him saying, "I miss you and I will never, ever forget you." And all that effort created one of the most magical things about the Taj Mahal, the way it changes color. Because of how the marble catches the light, the building actually seems alive, like it's breathing. Early in the morning, it glows this beautiful, soft pink. By midday, it's a blinding, shining white. And at night, if you catch it under a full moon, it turns into this cool, glowing silver. It is absolutely breathtaking.
All right, moving on to Chapter 4, A Prisoner in Agra Fort. Just as Shah Jahan finishes creating the most beautiful place on earth for his lost love, his own life takes a really dark, tragic turn.
So, in a massive twist of fate, Shah Jahan's sons start fighting over who gets to be the next emperor. His son Aurangzeb was incredibly ambitious, and in 1658, he actually took the throne by force. And what does he do? He takes his own father, the former king of the world, and locks him up. He essentially makes him a captive inside a room in the Agra fort. Stripped of all his freedom, Shah Jahan spent 8 long years as a lonely prisoner in his very own city. The only bit of comfort he had was sitting by his window staring across the river at the Taj Mahal shining way off in the distance. Legend has it he spent his final days dreaming of building a second, perfectly identical Taj Mahal right across the river for himself, but this one would be made entirely out of black marble. But, well, because he was locked up, that dream just remained an unfinished fantasy. And that brings us to our final chapter, Chapter 5, The Ultimate Symbol of Love. Let's look at how their physical lives concluded and the incredible legacy of what he built. In 1666, Shah Jahan finally passed away at the age of 74. His final wish was incredibly simple. He just wanted to be near Mumtaz Mahal again. Thankfully, his son allowed him to be buried inside the Taj Mahal. So today, their 2 tombs lie right side by side. After decades of being apart, those 2 young lovers who locked eyes in the Mina Bazaar all those years ago were finally reunited beneath that massive white dome. Out of the dark, literally suffocating grief of one man came the absolute brightest light of architecture. It's a structure so magnificent that experts today are fighting tooth and nail against pollution just to make sure our grandkids get to see it. It's this gorgeous reminder that even when someone is gone, love can literally move rivers and create wonders that stand the test of time. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. The Taj Mahal is widely considered the greatest victory of love over death. How will your love be remembered? Thanks for hanging out with me today and keep learning.